Casey Joyner. He's brought to you by Elite Acura. Score incredible savings all month long. Elite Acura on Route 73, Maple Shade, or EliteAcura.com. We'll look at one thought every game with Casey Joyner in a minute. But first, let's get some of his takes on the Eagles-Rams matchup. The Rams have won 4 out of 5. The Eagles, of course, they've got their own win streak going here. So how will it all shake out? Let's talk to the man, Casey Joyner from The Athletic, who gives us the matchups to watch in this one. And, Casey, I want to go right to the hot one right now. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp against the Eagles secondary here. What do you see in Matthew Stafford's weapons going up against Vic Fangio's secondary here?
I see some possible problems. I mean, they're playing at a high level, but, I mean, I've got them to the face like Nacua probably faces Slay if you're looking at the lineups. And Slay, over the past 3 games, he's played in 3 of the past 4 games. He's allowing 5.4 yards per target. He's allowing a 62.3 passer rating, only 45.5% completion rate. Okay, I think he can slow Nacua down. And then you got Cooper versus Cooper, as it were. And, I mean, 5.3 yards per target, only 8.1 yards per completion, 78.5 passer rating. He's the one who's getting thrown out more frequently, so they're probably going to go to Kupp a lot more often. But I'm looking at this going, okay, if you're the Rams, I mean, this is the way to go. You don't want to try and run against the Eagles' run defense because they're very good. There is not every player except for one in the Eagles secondary rates as a red-rated player. So if I'm the Rams, I'm like, okay, you better not think that you're going to get you're going to have production here all game long because these are guys that can slow you down. If you're the Rams, you're going to have to get really creative because you can't win this matchup-wise.
Yeah, you take a look at the passing game for the Rams. They also have Kyren Williams. So when you look at them and their ability to run the football against the Eagles defense, I think right now the Eagles defense, number 1 rated in the league. They're good against the pass so far. How are they against this running attack?
They're good. And the last, I measure things a lot by a fantasy points per game perspective, just as a good rule of thumb. And the Eagles are 9th in fantasy points allowed per game on planned rushing plays over the past 4 weeks. So they're doing very well. And it's one of those things where you look at them on tape too, and it's just they fit well. They win their blocks. They're a good. They've done pretty good tackling. Again, I've complained about it a couple of times this year because there've been times where they're but they've been done really well there. They're very disciplined. And the thing I like about their Eagles run defense, and this is what makes it tough for the Rams, the Eagles don't try to do things they're not supposed to do. Your players, if they know that this is their job, that's what they're going to try and do. They don't try and do somebody else's job. They're trying to do their job. And the Rams try and do a lot of things. A very creative offense. Shanahan or McVay's a lot, that whole Shanahan bit of, hey, you need to move things around. You need to threaten the defense in various areas. They can do that. But when you're the Eagles, you stay put where you're supposed to be, and your players are supposed to be where they're supposed to be, and you're not going to get caught out of your lanes. It makes it a lot tougher. So, and I wonder, I don't think McVay, if he gets a solid rushing attack, I don't know if he'll be as patient with his rushing attack as the Eagles will be, and that could be an advantage for Philadelphia.
All right, let's take a look at Philadelphia and what they're looking at on the defensive side of the ball. Let's start with Saquon Barkley. They're the number 1 rush team in the league. When you hand the ball off to Barkley, the Eagles' offensive line, what are they up against?
They're up against the Rams defense. It's 5th in fantasy points allowed on planned rushing plays over the past 4 weeks. I mean, they're doing really well. Like 3.1 yards per rush and 1 rush touchdown. I mean, this is a team that does very well rushing the ball as well. I'm looking at it saying, okay, I want to use Barkley, and I do. And with the offensive line, if you get any kind of blocking for them, if you get good blocking, Barkley can break things off. So I'm not really worried about Barkley being able to get some production. But I just want to make sure that the Rams don't try and help their secondary because their secondary metrics are nowhere near as good as their rush defense metrics. And I think that's where the Eagles have a really big advantage is being throwing the ball.
Yeah, and then, of course, when they throw the ball, you got Brown, you got Smith, who's got the hamstring issue. But is this the weakness of the Rams, that secondary?
Yeah, you hope Smith is going to be healthy this week because Darius Williams would be his coverage target. Over the past 4 games, Darius Williams, 16 targets, 14 completions. That's 87.5% completion rate, 12.4 yards per completion, 10.8 yards per target, 132.6 passer rating. Those are some bad numbers. If you're the Rams, that's a guy you want to protect very much. And Durant, the guy on the other side, he's done really well. He's done really well comparatively speaking from a fantasy perspective, but he's still like 9.7 yards per target. So look at him going, okay, we could beat him as well. I'd really like to see them go after the Rams and tight ends too. I really like seeing him go after Cameron Curl, their strong safety, because the Rams are 14th in tight end passing points per game allowed over the past 4 weeks. Not great, that's not a great place, but it's okay. But here's the last one that really stands out. The Rams over the past 4 weeks, 29th in opponents' passing points per game on vertical passes, 11 or more yards downfield. So I think the Eagles need to say, look, we're going to go vertical on you. We're going to go after some of your targets. We're going to put the ball in the air. We're going to see if you can keep up, because if they go shootout mode like that and they say, we're going to take our passing game versus your pass defense and your passing game versus our pass defense, I'm the Eagles. I'll take that 7 days a week.
All right, one thought every game. We'll get his thought on that Eagles game, who wins and why, coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's get into this week's edition of One Thought Every Game on the Sports Bash. Casey Joyner from The Athletic. Vikings and the Bears. Minnesota 1-5 in their last 6 games against the division, going back to Week 12 of last year. The Bears, though, are 2-11 against the division in this era under Matt Eberflus. So, who finally tips the scales in the NFC North?
The Bears, that offensive coordinator change did help. $179 on the ground, it's the second highest of the season, so that did help. And you could tell the passing game looked a lot better, too. They were getting a lot of people involved and such, and that's great. But your second test as offensive coordinator comes against a Brian Flores defense. From a fantasy perspective, Vikings have scored double-digit fantasy points. Their defense has all but 2 games this year. And last 3 weeks against the Colts, Jaguars, Titans, solid running teams, not terrible running teams. And the Colts are one of the best backs in the league. 68, 56, and 33 rushing yards allowed. They just shut people down on the ground. I think they shut Chicago down on the ground and win.
One thought every game. Let's go to Lions-Colts. This one should be fun. You got the Lions and the Colts, and the Lions have the longest active win streak in the NFL. 8 straight games. They only had a 9-game win streak back in 1934. So did they get to 9? The Colts in their last 6 meetings versus the Lions, they are 5-1 in their last 6 against Detroit.
The historian to me will point out that 1934 Lions team won the NFL championship that year. That was their first title win. So I mean that's a good track record.
Nice omen, huh?
Yeah, nice omen. Yes, very, very much so. Lions, I mean, look at their offense. They score, they've scored more than 24 more points in every game but 1 this year. Every game but 2 this year, I'm sorry. And they've done it for, 7 straight weeks now. They're destroying people. The Colts, look, they're better with Richardson at quarterback, or they were better last week, and he's getting the passing game going some. But, I mean, they've allowed 57 points the last 2 weeks. Yeah, it was 30 to the Bills, but 27 to the Jets. You're going to have 27 to the Jets. What are you going to do against the Lions? I don't think they slow the Lions down. All Lions post another 30-plus point game and win easily.
All right, one thought every game. Let's go to interdivision game. AFC East, Patriots, Dolphins. Pats are 1-7 in their last 8 games against Miami. They've lost 3 straight. 4 losses against Miami on the road. Tua never lost against the Patriots.
Yeah, and the Patriots, it's that they didn't have tank their season after their coach called them soft, and they played better. You got to give them credit, and they look like a developmental team. They need a lot of help, but there's a lot of places they can improve and they can move ahead with this. But right now, the Dolphins are developing right now. They put up last week. They put up 271 net passing yards, second highest total of the season, and didn't get much out of Hill or Waddle. They can get more out of Hill and they can get more out of Waddle in this matchup. And I think their running game could also get going against the Patriots defense that's not that good. So I'm thinking the Dolphins by a comfortable margin.
All right, one thought every game. Dolphins by a comfortable margin, by the way. Bucks and Giants. Giants 0-5 at home this season. They're going to go to Tommy DeVito, who is looking to win his 3rd straight home game. So does DeVito get the first Giants win of the year? At home.
Yeah, at home. Cutlets, I understand why they make the change, and this was a Giants players quoted as saying, why they asked, why did they make the move? Well, it was money, of course. That's why they did it. If you're making personal moves for money, I understand why you do it. I get it, but the locker room understands that. Okay, we're looking forward to next year. The Bucks, they'll probably get Mike Evans back. I mean, they've been able to have a good passing, or at least somewhat productive passing game. Last week wasn't that, but overall they've been somewhat productive without him out. Now they've got Otten. Now they've got Evans. They can shift some of the other receivers down to be secondary players and things that really helps them out. And the last 2 games they've not had a turnover, so I'm taking the Bucks by a touchdown.
All right, one thought every game. Let's go to the NFC East. You can listen to this game on 97.3 ESPN. Cowboys and Commanders. Cowboys 5-1 in their last 6 games against Washington. They've outscored them by almost 18 points. And by the way, in the Commanders' last 2 games, both losses, Jaden Daniels only ran for 23 yards combined. So are people figuring out the Commanders, or can Dallas figure out the Commanders?
Here's the thing. Washington, the passing game hasn't been as good of late, and you said the rushing game hasn't been as good of late, and the Cowboys secondary has played much better of late. They really have. I'm looking at their numbers for this week's start-sit charts, and they were, wow, this is not bad. This is an improvement over where they were. Here's the thing. What team can run the ball better? Last 5 games, Cowboys, 184, 223, 100, buck 87, 141. That's what they've allowed. That's a lot of yards. Last 4 games for Washington, 202, 164, 140, 228. I look at those rosters and go, okay, Rico Dowdle, Ezekiel Elliott, and then I go Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler. I'll take Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler. If that's the matchup there, plus, obviously what they can do, Daniels in the running game, I'll take that over what the Cowboys says. I'll take Washington.
All right, one thought every game. Let's go to Chiefs-Panthers. By the way, the Chiefs coming off the first loss of the season. They have not lost back-to-back games. They've only lost back-to-back games 4 times with Patrick Mahomes as the starter. By the way, Carolina's coming off back-to-back wins with another win. That would tie the team's longest win streak over 5 years. Can they make the Chiefs lose back-to-back?
If the Chiefs had lost or the Chiefs had won last week, this might be a game where they maybe look ahead and go, okay, this is the ultimate trap game and such. I think after last week's loss, it kind of shakes them up. And mind you, last week's loss, I think said more about how good Buffalo is than what Kansas City is. Because I never thought Kansas City was this dominant team. You look at a metric and go, okay, you guys are fortunate to be 9-0, and you can't count on fortune playing out over a whole season. You're not going to go undefeated more than likely. So the idea that Kansas City's not a dominant team, but they're still a very good team. And I think they're going to be awake for this matchup. And the Panthers, I like what a lot with them, but last week they put up a buck 88 against the Giants, but they hadn't rushed for 100 yards before that since week 6, and the Chiefs have a really good run defense. I'll take Kansas City.
All right, one thought every game. Let's go Texans-Titans. Texans 3 straight wins against the Titans, their longest win streak since the Texans won 5 straight times from 2014 to 2016. When you take a look at the Titans here, it is a possible third 2-9 start for them since the franchise moved to Tennessee. They're in the midst of a miserable season down there.
Yeah, it is miserable. And look at their quarterback play. And Levis is playing better, but again, relatively speaking, it's not very good. And they rushed for 33 yards last week. I mean, the run game is just that's atrocious. And mind you, Houston allowed 64 rushing yards against Dallas. I don't think Tennessee's run game gets going. By the way, Tennessee's got Spears, their backup running back, is also banged up down a few plays this week. He's out, then okay, now that hurts your running game even more. And Houston, they didn't get much of Nico Collins last week. Look like he was shaking off some rust and things. I think they get him going. The Titans secondary is really good, but it won't take many big plays for Houston to be able to outpace that Titans offense. I'll take Texans.
All right, one thought every game. Broncos, Raiders, little division AFC East. Broncos, 51% chance to make the playoffs. If they win, that goes to 62%. The Raiders have lost 6 straight, a streak that started in week 5 against Denver.
Denver, this is finally, by the way, Bo Nix is rostered in nearly 80% of fantasy leagues. I cannot understand it. The guy's been dominant in fantasy for a while. And mind you, on the field, he measures metrics in a variety of ways. Like, oh, wow, he's good at vertical passes. He's good at short passes. He's protecting the ball. He can run it. It's like, wow, this guy's a really good quarterback. And the Broncos' run defense allowed fewer than 100 rushing yards in 4 of the past 5 games. They're not turning the ball over. They're doing all kinds of things well. And mind you, he's doing this with the receiving core that they have. Can you imagine if you give him good receivers? I think Cortland Sutton, you give him somebody else. I mean, they've got some no names behind him and things. It says something. But I like the Broncos to make the playoffs. I mean, I think a percentage there, I would take it if I was a betting man. I'd take, they would definitely make the playoffs. And the Raiders, they're punching the clock right now, so I'll take them.
The Raiders have a 20% chance to land in the top 5 in the draft, by the way. Niners and Packers, including the playoffs, each of the previous 3 times these two teams have played at Lambeau have been decided by a game-winning field goal as time expired. Do we get a photo finish on Sunday?
We could. The thing is, San Francisco, McCaffrey's looked good, but he's not looked like Christian McCaffrey. He's not looked like, okay, the game breaker, or the guy who could just wreck a game, who could just, could dominate. He hasn't looked that good. He's looked good, but he hasn't looked that good. Don't know if maybe, okay, hey, He's still battling rust. Maybe he's not the player he was before. Don't know. But here's the thing. The Packers give up 179 rushing yards last week to the Bears. I think the Niners are going to look at that and say, look, we need to get McCaffrey going. We've got other players, too. We got some big players in the passing game. We need to get him going. I think that they can do that. And I think I think that they've got some other weaknesses. Their running game is good, about as good as it should be. They turn the ball over too much. They have some other mistakes and things. I think it's a really close game, but I think McCaffrey, if he hits full speed like I think he can in this matchup, that's a difference maker. I'll take the Niners.
One thought, every game, Cardinals and Seahawks. Cardinals, 4-game win streak, longest since winning 7 in a row back in 2021. The Seahawks are on a 5-game win streak against Arizona. It's the longest win streak in that series. This division, very tight, and this is a big one.
Arizona looks better every week. I mean, those 4 wins, they just keep looking better and better. They barely beat the Chargers. They barely beat the Dolphins. They dominate the Bears. They crush the Jets. Their run defense is really good. Their run game is going very well. Their passing game is looking a lot better, hitting some vertical passes. It's Kyler Murray's big weaknesses. He's not very good on vertical passes. He's hitting more of them. This matchup, by the way, the cornerback matchups he's going to have here, he should be able to hit big plays. In fact, I like Marvin Harrison to have a really good game, and he's been really hot and cold in fantasy football. This is one of his boom games. I like him from that perspective, and I think when you hit those big plays, I don't think Seattle's trending in the wrong direction. Arizona's trending in the right direction. I think they add that to the big plays. I think Arizona gets the road win, which is kind of a surprise. You wouldn't expect that, but I think they're going to do it.
All right, that one a lot of fun. Of course, the Eagles and Rams are on the Sunday night, so let's go to Monday night, Ravens and Chargers. You can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. It's the third meeting between John and his brother Jim. John won the previous 2 games on Thanksgiving Day and in the Super Bowl. Those are some awesome Thanksgiving meals, I would imagine. But the Ravens and the Chargers, this is an awesome game because now we'll really find out if the Chargers are for real.
You find out the Chargers, find out the Ravens are for real. Mind you, over half of Lamar Jackson's touchdown passes this year occurred in 2 games against the Bengals and 1 game against the Bucs. Even if you include the Steelers game, over half. He's got there was 13 of those games, and he's got 25 for the year. Dominated bad opponents. They really do well against bad opponents. They faced a good defense the first time, maybe this season, and they got shut down. The Chargers have a really good defense. They've got, again, the Bengals do what they did, but the Bengals can get you into shootout mode. I don't think the Ravens want to get into that kind of passing shootout mode. They know this, you can't attack them in the same way. And the Chargers' run defense has been solid. So I think the Chargers are going to be able to establish a run defense. I think they're going to be able to stop the pass well enough. And I think the Ravens' defense is not very good. And the Chargers have been really good. 4 straight games, 26 or more points. Their ground game is going. And some of the things they do, by the way, in the ground game, some of the formation stuff they do, it's like, oh my! If I'm a defensive coordinator, I have nightmares facing this offense. How creative they are, and I think the Ravens are going to have another nightmare. I think the Ravens will lose their second straight.
Wow, that would drop them to 7-5 in the AFC. And all right, that's the Monday night game. Let's go back to Sunday night. You can listen to the Eagles and Rams Sunday night at 8:20. The coverage starts at 7 on 97.3 ESPN. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call. Rams have won 4 out of 5. The Eagles on a nice little streak themselves. They won 6 straight here. So what's the matchup in this one that you're watching? Who wins and why?
I think the matchup would be the Rams secondary, as mentioned earlier. The Rams need to get, if they had a great tight end, they could exploit the one coverage weakness that the Eagles have, but they really don't have a great tight end. So the Eagles do have a lot of ways they can go after the Rams secondary. Here's the thing. Eagles are 6-0 and they score more than 21 points this year. The Rams are 1-5 and they allow 23 or more points this year. The Rams cannot afford to get this game into a shootout mode anywhere close to shootout mode. I think the Eagles can turn it into, if not a full-fledged shootout, they can turn it into a higher scoring game. The Rams need to make sure the Eagles don't score a lot. And, if the Rams let the Eagles get to 24, I don't think the Rams could win this game. I'm looking at the Rams defense going, I just don't see a lot of ways that they can keep the Eagles from getting to 24 unless, crazy turnovers, things of that nature. I'm playing percentages. I'm playing the Eagles to get there. So I think the Eagles are going to, tough to go on the road across the country and get a win like that. But I think the Eagles have the defense, the run game, and the passing game that can do it. So I'll take Philadelphia.
There'll be more Eagles fans there anyway. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Casey Joyner is back on Tuesday when we look back at One Thought on all of the action this week. He'll take a look back at all the teams and all the games on Tuesday's edition of One Thought, every game right here on the Sports Bash. All right, Casey, we will see you on Tuesday.
Thanks, Mike.